Today's the day. Today, I'm visiting the smallest country in the world. Vatican City is the smallest independent state on Earth. This entire country takes up just under half of a square kilometer, or just about 1/8 of the total area of Central Park in New York City. But small it may be, it's the spiritual and political heart of the Roman Catholic Church, which is one of the biggest religious groups on the planet. While Vatican City does receive many millions of visitors every year, only around 800 people actually live here. Most are clergy or members of the Swiss Guard, which is the name of this tiny country's military. Hence the name, it's entirely made up of Swiss citizens and is often referred to as the world's smallest military. The small population here also results in Vatican City being one of the only countries with no native-born citizens. So while my first stop in a new country is usually getting to know locals, here it's literally impossible. Instead though, Vatican City is the only country in the entire world where the whole country is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And even though it's not a member of the European Union, Vatican City uses the euro and issues its very own Vatican euro coins. It's got its own postal system too, which is considered the busiest post office in the world per capita. Local Romans that live near Vatican City often will say that Vatican mail gets delivered faster than Italian mail. And one of the most fascinating things about Vatican City is that it is completely surrounded by the city of Rome, Italy's largest and busiest metropolis. The area all around the Vatican is a place of real contrasts. So before heading into the world's smallest country, I spent some time exploring Italy's biggest city. I checked out a few landmarks. If you take a look way down there, you can see where I started my visit. Ciao. Then I made a stop to eat some pizza. Sure, in Rome there's plenty of pizza, but today I'm going for a pinza. This one's got sardines on it. No, sorry, they're not sardines, they're anchovies, squash blossoms, tomatoes, and the cheese. But it's a delicious Roman specialty nonetheless. And in my final stops to Vatican City, I passed by a gelateria and I just couldn't help myself.
Classic base of ice cream in which we have pistachio from Bronte.
Okay, Dave. Wow. Rich. Thanks. I mean, after all, it is kind of an unofficial rule that before visiting the world's smallest country, you've got to eat the world's biggest serving of gelato. And then, only then, was I ready. To enter Vatican City, you usually start in St. Peter's Square. Right off to the side of the square is where the Pope lives. Not exactly in the Sistine Chapel, but in the Apostolic Palace. You can visit the Sistine Chapel though, which has one of the most iconic ceilings in the entire world, Michelangelo's creation of Adam. But filming inside is strictly forbidden. Some YouTubers choose to ignore that rule, but honestly, if someone walked into my house with a camera rolling after I asked them not to, I wouldn't be so happy. And as incredible as the Sistine Chapel is, it's just one small part of Vatican City. Since part of my goal was to visit the world's smallest country in at least a somewhat respectful way, I decided to skip the sneaky shots and instead headed into St. Peter's Basilica, the largest church on planet Earth. To get into St. Peter's Basilica though, there is usually a very long line. So I queued up and waited, but soon enough, it was my turn to enter. On the way in, there's some interesting stuff to see too. Okay. That's pretty easy, thank you. Cool thing about this country is that you can go listen to the Pope talk for free. As you head towards the entrance, there's a view of the plaza from where the Pope gives their speeches. Just imagine talking to all those people. By the way, Vatican City is also known as the Holy See, and it's been its own country since 1929. Before then, it was still the center of the Roman Catholic Church, but was considered a part of Rome. So let's head on into the Basilica. The entrance itself is already pretty impressive. But man, is this a fancy building. This place has a kind of unreal vibe. You walk in and it's like you're floating around or something. It's gotta be the most gold plating I've ever seen anywhere in my life. Now, the existence of a St. Peter's Basilica dates back all the way to the 4th century. But in 1505, the original building was demolished, and construction on the current massive basilica that I'm standing in right now began 1 year later. The detail between marble, gold, and everything else is just breathtaking. No matter who you are, tourist, Catholic pilgrim, or otherwise, St. Peter's Basilica is really a sight to see. And I mean, you can visit this place technically for free. If you happen to be visiting Rome, you can just walk in here after waiting in a super long line, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 hours, and you can come in for free. So in that sense, there's no real planning or budget necessary to visit here. But a lot of places within Vatican City can only be seen on a paid tour, and those do tend to sell out quick and some are pretty expensive. St. Peter's Basilica is really just one of a kind, and you could spend days learning about every detail. But possibly what stands out most is the dome. It was designed by Michelangelo and is one of the largest in the world. And walking around with massive crowds visiting, it can be easy to forget that the primary purpose of the Basilica is a religious one. It's also worth pointing out that the Basilica is said to have been built upon the location where the Catholic St. Peter was buried thousands of years ago. St. Peter is also where both the square and the Basilica get their names from. But underneath it all, there's the Vatican Grottoes that house tombs. And there are a lot of popes buried here. So I'll go check out their graves, I guess. Why not? You can smell the candles. But it beats me where that smell comes from, because actually the candles down here are just these electronic ones. Did I mention it's quite hot in this place? It is. After visiting the airy basilica above, walking through the grottos feels like a huge contrast. But in my opinion, it is not a place where you want to visit with a huge crowd around. And luckily, once exiting the grottos, you're taken outside to a courtyard to the side of the basilica featuring taps flowing with tasty Vatican water. If you visit here right at the right time, this light comes on. It looks pretty cool. So for being the world's smallest country, Vatican City has a ton to experience without even spending any money. The Basilica definitely can get pretty packed during peak times, but the atmosphere is something that I could only describe as unique. And if you happen to want to visit every country, then this is definitely one of those countries. But I hope you enjoyed this little country on a little tour, and make sure to subscribe for more.